coming into view. A world in which there is a very real prospect of a new world order.
The New World Order does not mean surrendering our national sovereignty or forfeiting our interests.
He took an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States of America. By some, he's been called controversial.
How can I convince you when your ears refuse to hear? You turn your heart away from me each time when I draw near. Your eyes refuse to meet with mine, they glance away in fear, as if you should not look at your reflection in the mirror.
Now, keep in mind that some of my guests have been approached by, Homeland Security or FBI saying, why are you going on the Clay Douglas show?
My message to those guys, if they're listening this morning, is go get a cup of coffee. Maybe you'll learn something.
We both took the same oath, to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I don't recall there being an expiration date on that.
So well it doesn't show. How can I contain this anguish and this pain, knowing that your eyes are blinded by the lies?
He is the free American, Clay Douglas.
Have your eyes been blinded by the lies? Yes, your eyes are blinded by the lies.
Catch the Free American weekdays at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern.
Every time I think about the damage that's been done, the anger wells inside me till I'm almost overcome. I want to tear the moon out of the sky and drop the sun. Why do I feel so all alone, like I'm the only one?
For the podcast and more details, visit www.freeamerican.com or catch the podcast by phone by calling 832-999-8621.
Your soul may know the darkness of divine eternity, like petty thieves who plunder in the shadows of the night. They break inside and enter through the windows of your mind. How can I control?
All right, we'll be up in just a moment and rolling.
Cane pulling crossman in my hands, all I needed to be growed up. Homemade ice cream and barbecue and the family on Friday nights. 10-lane ramp on Saturday right before the morning light. Came a time I was old enough and I learned about the gun. And every night at supper time I answered to what I'd done. Today look what God found the way it used to be. They got no respect and no cold steel, just games on TV. A burning hell before I sell my rights away from me. It's high time we embrace the tool that keeps all men free.
Good morning, Revolution Radio. The sun is rising across this great United States, and that means straight from the heart of Texas. It is time for Clayton Douglas, the Free American. Take it away, Clayton.
All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Free American Hour. And trying to inform you so you can take care of yourself. I don't believe the government. I've done a lot of filming of the government telling them how they were going to help us, And today you're facing Obamacare. Don't know much about it. A lot of pages of law there, but my guest today, James Lansberry, is the president of Health Sharing Ministries. And James, welcome.
Thanks. It's good to be here.
tell me about this Alliance of Healthcare Sharing Ministry. Before we get into all of the problems, it looks to me that this ministry that you've set up, it's obviously already operating. You don't receive any funding or grants from government sources, and you're not an insurance company. But you also say that 24 states have explicitly recognized this and exempt health care sharing ministries from their insurance code. What is it? What is it that you're trying to do, and why are you trying to do it? What are we facing here with Obamacare? I mean, to me, not much has changed. I mean, I saw the brouhaha when Hillary Clinton tried to introduce health care, and obviously you've created health care sharing ministries in response to a need. What's that need? What's wrong with our government here?
Sure. Well, it's not a specific need that we formed related to what's wrong with the government, though there's plenty to keep me busy there, I'm sure. The need that we created healthcare sharing ministries for, and Samaritan Ministries, which is the one that I work for and have been a part of, is because people need a personal mechanism for which to share one another's medical needs. Samaritan Ministries is a non-insurance healthcare sharing ministry. It's a facilitator for Christian families to help one another with healthcare bills without using insurance. And so our members, over 80,000 of them, are sharing over $6.5 million in medical bills every single month all across the country. And so it's an alternative to insurance. It's actually something that has been around. This model, in some sense, has been around since the book of Acts, or even before, the Church of Jesus Christ taking care of one another. And that is our goal, is to be a facilitating ministry of people helping one another. It's more personal than insurance is. It allows more choice, more freedom, and it is consistent with our religious values. And we're very thankful because we're not only have we been sharing one another's needs for multiple years now, for a couple of decades, we're able to, by, in my opinion, a sheer miracle from God, to get an exemption from the Affordable Care Act so that our members will, without penalty, be able to continue sharing one another's medical bills in the future.
What does this Obamacare do? Now, I haven't read that much on it. I haven't researched it that much. So what? But I have heard that they were trying to mandate that we take that mark of the beast chip that they call it. So our doctors will know how much money's in our bank account, I guess. What are we facing with Obamacare? What's going to change?
Sure. The Patients Protection and Affordable Care Act, which is commonly referred to as Obamacare, is designed to accomplish several things. One is that all Americans are going to be forced by law to purchase a health insurance product, not just any health insurance product, but one that meets all of the criteria outlined in the bill and the regulations that have followed. That means that right now there are legal battles surrounding a mandated birth control benefit that is affecting Catholic organizations who have a moral conviction about that. So, starting next year, January 1st, 2014, you will, unless you are one of the very small accepted categories, you'll be forced to go out and purchase a health insurance product that meets those standards, or pay a fine or penalty, or as the Supreme Court called it, a tax. You'll have to pay an additional tax. The first year, the tax is very small. It starts out at $85, or 0.5% of your taxable income. It accelerates over a few years and gets up to a maximum of about $2,000. And so it's a relatively small additional tax compared to what things could be, and of course it could increase over years if Congress were to decide to adjust it, but you will be penalized for not purchasing an insurance product. Now, that penalty is much less than the cost of the insurance. Now, one of the other things that the bill was aiming to to accomplish is they reformed the insurance laws effectively in all 50 states, requiring insurance companies to provide two things. One is called guaranteed issue. Guaranteed issue is that insurance companies will be forced, whether you're sick already or not, to take you on as a customer without penalizing you for being sick. And so if you get sick, you can go out and purchase insurance after that fact. The second major overhaul for insurance code law is what's called community rating. Community rating means that they have standards on how much an insurance company can charge you. And so the most expensive policyholder can only be charged 3 or 4 times what the least expensive policyholder is, which will essentially greatly penalize people in the 20 to 30 range who are healthy. And so people who could have gotten very affordable insurance before now will find that insurance even less affordable, thus exacerbating some of the problems that are already existing in the healthcare arena.
What about this chip? Are they going to try to make us take this chip, or do you know?
I'm not aware of any kind of a chip that is included in this law that will be installed in people. So that may be an urban myth. There's certainly enough wording in the law that I have not yet read, and that even people I read have not yet read, but I've not seen any reports from any sources related to any actual language in the bill or the regulations related to any kind of a chip.
Okay. But if somebody signed up with you, what does it cost to get? What does it take to make this happen?
Join Samaritan Ministries. You fill out a brief application. You tell us where you go to church. You sign off to a basic Christian statement of faith, and you send that into our offices. The monthly cost for a family of 3 or more is $370. It's never been higher than that. It's even less for a 1 or 2 person family, but $370 a month. We have a wonderful program where we're sharing needs from $300 on up. Our members are sharing, again, over $6.5 million a month, over $80 million a year in medical bills among these 24,000 families, 80,000 plus people. And so we've been doing this since 1994, and for as little as $370 a month, you can be a part of a community of believers who are taking care of one another. I had my own major medical experience this year. We had a child in January who was stillborn. He actually was born without a heartbeat, and they revived him, and he spent 11 days in the NICU. So he was under critical care for 11 days. Between the childbirth, the expenses, all the surgery that went along with this, the total bills totaled over $200,000 for my family for this relatively brief hospital stay. It's rare that someone gets out of the NICU that quickly. We're thankful for that. For those $200,000 in bills, we had members from 42 different states who were sharing in that need with us. We got enough gifts from members all across the country to not only pay for the bills, but to have money left over to send on to another family after we'd gotten the bills discounted, but sometimes as much as 40 or more %.
Now, does this $340 a month, this is a membership fee, right?
The $370 a month is 1 month a year would be your membership dues. For the other 11 months, you'll be sending that directly to another Christian family. So last month, I sent it to someone in Texas. Next month, I could be sending it to someone in Maine or California. But we share directly in one another's needs. As I mentioned with my need, we got notes and cards, checks from people in 42 different states. And so every month I get to send a note or a card. I get to pray for a family who's in need, and I get to take part in that need with them, both financially, spiritually, and emotionally.
This sharing, I'm trying to I'm not a very good candidate for medical insurance, although I do ride a Harley. I have been in accidents, I guess you could call them that, and but I don't go to the doctor. Very rarely do I go to a doctor. I'm very, very healthy. And any problems that I have, I take care of it in a naturopathic way.
Sure, and we have a lot of members that do that, and that's great. We do share needs related to naturopathic services when they exceed the $300 amount, and they're part of a larger medical need. And so we do try to balance those concerns. Galatians 6 talks about bearing one another's burdens. A few verses later, it talks about each one bearing his own load. And we're trying to keep that balance in the way we handle things here, where those routine medical care, people take care of them on their own. They go to the doctor, they pay their own bills, but then when those needs get large enough that you really need help from someone else, then we step in and coordinate people sharing with one another. And so that's a really good balance to keep costs down in general, to keep people responsible for their own behavior and their own bills. You know, all of our members are treated as self-pay patients by their providers. And then also to have that community approach where people are taking care of one another, where people are coming alongside of one another when those large needs come up, like my $200,000 need, where people take the time to pray for one another, to share in that need with one another, to make sure that people are taken care of in their time of need, to bear that burden with them.
Now, is this operable? I'm looking at a map here. I'm up on your site, healthcaresharing.org. And I just clicked on Texas. That clarifies that Healthcare Sharing Ministries are not insurance and not subject to Texas insurance regulations. But if Obamacare is launched, will a membership in this take the place of buying health care insurance from somewhere else? And
Sure. There's a couple things there. The Alliance of Healthcare Sharing Ministries site that you're at, healthcaresharing.org, relates to our trade organization, the Alliance of Healthcare Sharing Ministries. It's a 501c6. It's an organization that we use as small charities to share one another's expenses when it comes to public policy and lobbying related. So SamaritanMinistries.org, which is the website of the ministry that I'm a part of, at SamaritanMinistries.org. They will tell you the details about the individual ministry that you'd be joining. Now, Samaritan Ministries has members in all 50 states. It's perfectly legal in all 50 states. It is not insurance, as you read on the Alliance website. It is a cooperative group of people who are sharing in one another's medical bills without using insurance. And so now, when the Affordable Care Act kicks in next year, the individual mandate that the Supreme Court upheld last year kicks in January 2014, one of the options that people have that would exempt them from the penalties related to that mandate are to be a part of a healthcare sharing ministry like Samaritan Ministries. And being a part of that will exempt them from that penalty and provide a pro-life, consistently Christian opportunity for sharing one another's medical bills. And so you'll have the opportunity to be a part of a community of faith where people are taking care of one another and escape some of the more objectionable mandates that are contained in the Affordable Care Act.
You know, I really like this concept. I've tried to come up with some answers and some ways of dealing with anything, and I kind of come back to, I ask myself, how did we deal with things 100 years ago, 200 years ago, or 2,000 years ago? And when you get back to it and you go all the way back to the Bible and understand this is really what Christianity was supposed to be. Not talking about the big churches, not talking about the churches that put up idols for you to worship, but talking about people working together in a Christian atmosphere, in a Christian community. And I really got back to the basis of every civilization, which is the self-sufficient family farm. And this is how the farms in the small rural neighborhoods and everything work. People working together. We developed this whole country, settled this whole country from coast to coast using horses, cows, and windmills. We've got the computer today, but the basic, in a way, the computer almost isolates us. What the vision I get for what you're talking about, this healthcare, is groups of people working together with common goals, caring about each other, watching out for each other.
Well, and that's exactly what our goal has been for our entire history, is to be a family for one another, to watch out for one another. I mean, that's what, if you were to do a word search in the New Testament and look at the words one another, you would find, tens of, commands that would tell you, here's, you bear one another's burdens, you take care of one another, lift one another up in prayer, encourage one another. Those one anotherings is a part of what God has created the church to be doing. When we are saved by grace through Jesus Christ, we're not just immediately called out of the world. We're left here, but God leaves us the church to encourage one another, to support one another, to sharpen one another, to make sure that we're growing in grace and in truth. We have that ministry of one anothering that is part of being a part of the community. And Samaritan Ministries is an example of us doing that one anothering in a large, organized way. We are bearing one another's burdens when those burdens get too large for one person or one church or one family to handle on their own.
Now, I have some complaints and I have some gripes with the healthcare industry itself, because it seems to me in my research that the doctors are pushing prescription medicines almost to the point of inventing diseases so they can give you a new type of medicine. The contraindications for the medicine is not good. Matter of fact, if you watch TV and you see about every other ad for medication, the first 30 seconds of the 1 minute ad tells you why you shouldn't be taking that medicine, what the contraindications are. And it's I consider the health care almost a racket, because they don't make any money if you if you well. They don't make any money off of you if you're
sure.
well. And
that's actually a difficulty built into the way we've established what economists refer to as fee-for-service medicine. So that doctor makes money only if there are sick people that come in, and then he provides a service, and then people go, and then they come back. And so chronic care actually provides, a relatively stable income for a doctor or for someone. And so the system is kind of built up around those incentives. I approach healthcare not as a medical professional. I'm not a doctor. I don't play one on TV, but I look at healthcare from an economic standpoint. I come at this as an economist. And one of the things that we learn in economics is that people and industries respond to incentives. And there's very little incentive in the way our system is designed for doctors to keep people well. Doctors, wonderfully, are usually altruistic people. People go into medicine so that they can help others. And so I don't think that by and large, the general average physician that you would run into, whether it be at a party or in your church or even at a medical convention, that the average physician is out there looking to see how he can bilk patients to make money. But the system is designed around incentives, and there's really no way to avoid that. Now, there are other models that one could choose, and I'm familiar with a model that I refer to as retainer-based medicine. You'll sometimes hear it referred to as concierge medicine, where a group of patients will contract with a particular physician who then becomes their doctor. And he has incentive at that point because he's already made his monthly retainer for taking care of his patients. he has an incentive at that point to try to keep his patients as healthy as possible so that he invests as little time as possible per patient. And so as far as keeping them well. And so the more patients that come in that are sick, the worse off he's going to be because he's actually forced to then treat the patients as opposed to having the time to just work on wellness and keep people healthy. So that kind of a retainer-based model or a hybrid between a retainer-based model and a fee-for-service model can actually be a promising thing at the primary care level. Now, when you're up to acute care, when you're dealing with someone for open heart surgery or other things that are unavoidable, but still you need someone who's skilled at a particular practice, whether it be anesthesiology or surgical care, cardiovascular care, those things at a specialist level, I think, are probably better dealt with still within that fee-for-service model where people are actually taking part in those services, but are being compensated well because those are life-saving treatments, not life-prolonging, they're life-saving treatments. And so finding a way to reinvent healthcare, though, from an economic standpoint, will take a great deal of overhaul. Right now, built into the healthcare system, because we have an employer-centric healthcare system, meaning that the healthcare system is designed where most people, roughly 80% of Americans, get their health insurance through their employer. That's happened because of a piece of tax code that's been around since the 1950s, where the insurance companies got the government to look at insurance, health insurance, as a tax-free fringe benefit. And because of that, if you buy your insurance through your employer, there's no payroll taxes on it. And so it's hugely subsidized through that tax exclusion. And so people are encouraged to buy as much health care as possible, prepaying it through their employer, as opposed to what we used to have back in the 1950s and 60s before the economic incentives started working in healthcare. We used to have what some people who are older than I am would refer to still as hospitalization insurance. There was no medical insurance that covered routine care like chronic prescriptions or routine doctor's visit or routine physical. None of that was ever covered by insurance companies because it just didn't make any sense. People could pay for those out of their own pocket. Insurance has always been designed, real insurance has always been designed to take care of those catastrophic needs. When you have life insurance, it doesn't cover oxygen. When you have car insurance, it doesn't cover gas or tires or oil. And so insurance being designed for people to share in the risk for one of those catastrophic needs. Well, health insurance is different because health insurance has become not sharing the risk of a catastrophic need, though that's included with it. It's become essentially prepaid medical, where people pay a monthly fee to the insurance company, or their employer does in most cases, who then pays doctors and other people to take care of your care as it comes up. And so it becomes a prepaid medical bill. It just equalizes that cost. It's not really insurance at all, except in those catastrophic cases. So in order to fix that, we have to level the tax code incentives. We either have to make all health care deductible at the same level, meaning if you go to the doctor and you're a naturopath and you pay him $50, but that's deductible not just on your Schedule A, but from your payroll taxes. You don't have to pay Social Security tax on it, just like with an employer. Or we take away that tax exclusion for the employer-provided insurance so that all health care is treated the same. You go and you put it on your Schedule A, and it all meets the same standard. And if you could level that tax code treatment of all healthcare expenses, you would find that the market then would start to work to build a different system. But right now, we've got a system that incentivizes employer-centric care. And so, if we were to go back to scratch and we were to start to think about a healthcare system from a philosophical standpoint, I can't think of anyone who would say, let's start with the assumption that your boss should choose your doctor. Nobody likes that. It doesn't make any sense. Why should your health care be tied to your employer? You get locked into a job, you lose your job, you lose your health insurance, you lose your ability to pay for something. It just doesn't make any sense from a philosophical standpoint. But it's become that way because of the economic incentives built into the tax code. And doctors have gotten sucked into this where it's very difficult for a doctor to make a living unless he accepts insurance. and then you have to follow the standard of care that the insurance company tells you, and you end up working for the insurance company instead of the patient. You spend a lot of money filing paperwork, and it's just become a big, huge mess. Well, what the Affordable Care Act does is it takes this broken system, this system with all these perverse incentives, we refer to them in economics, these perverse incentives, and it takes those incentives that we have that are broken, and instead of undoing some of those incentives, it doubles down on them. And so everything that was bad about healthcare 2 years ago is going to be worse from an economic standpoint under the Affordable Care Act, under Obamacare, because it makes employers go out and purchase insurance. It makes people go out and purchase insurance. It further encourages that employer-centric system. It further encourages insurance companies to drive up those costs, because the more expensive healthcare is, the easier it is for insurance companies to meet what they're called medical loss ratios that are required in the law. So what the so-called Affordable Care Act has done is it's actually made healthcare more complicated than it was before, and it didn't fix any of the existing problems. It only made them worse. It exacerbates our current situation. So what we need are simpler things like healthcare sharing ministries, where the patient is in control, where it's not tied to employment, where it's portable from state to state, where people are actually in control of, here's what we want to share, here's what we don't want to share. Those patient-centered models that exist not just in healthcare sharing ministries like Samaritan Ministries, but also in things like health savings accounts. Those patient-centered models actually allow us to evaluate healthcare like any other commodity. It allows us to say, look, this test over here is worth $200. This test over here, no, it's not worth $200 because I'm paying for it out of my own pocket. So you're going to have to bring the price down if you want me to get that test.
Now, you think that this model that you've set up is viable enough to take it nationally and really be more responsible for ourselves, for our neighborhoods, for our families, and the further we move into the big government role model administration, let's well, you can grow tomatoes in your front yard, but we're going to have a government inspector come out to see if they're all right, to see if you can share them with your neighbors. Now,
sure, and that's part of the difficulty, is that we've, over the last 150 years, we've moved away from a model which I would say is a biblical model of the government being designed to punish evil. God designed the government, says in Romans 13, to punish those who do evil, to bear the sword. That's the purpose of the civil government sphere. And we've moved away over the last 150 years from a government's designed to punish evil to actually asking the government to prevent evil. And that's a whole other ballgame. When the government is trying to prevent evil, whether it be through making sure there are no unsafe drugs sold or food like the FDA, or whether it be through making sure that people can get on planes safely through the TSA, that when the government steps into that role of trying to prevent evil, it has to encroach into liberty. It has to encroach into freedom. There's no other way to do that.
I have said we have more people in prison in this country than any other country in the world right at this moment, at this particular point in time. We have become a police state. We are arresting people for their own good. The whole idea of having a law against a victimless crime is creating criminals. Ayn Rand kind of had it right when she said back in Atlas Shrugged, government has no control over honest citizens, so they got to make criminals out of them, and that's what we're doing with our medical laws, and that's what we're doing with our drug laws, and you almost can't, it is not repairable in the situation it is, it seems to me. We've got to go back to the beginning, back to basics, and say how are we supposed to do this? And the Bible kind of gives us a pretty clear guidelines on how to take care of each other, how to run a civilized society, as well as being a great history book. And my friend Dr. Jake Wade runs Timothy Bible College. He refers to most of your religions here, or your churches, as churchiosity. They're not really following the Bible. They are following that Mason's cornerstone directives from that Grand Master. But the answer, it's almost like the Bible gave us the answer too. It said, "Come out of her." And if we get back to taking care of each other the way your ministry is set up here, and could we expand that to the point of showing people how, by working together in one square block or one neighborhood or one farm, we can actually work together. Now, I've done shows for over the last 20 years about health. I've had the guy that made the tape, Dead Doctors Don't Lie. I've had biochemists on my show. And they all pretty much tell us the same thing, that if we're eating right, if we're adjusting the minerals that we need, we're going to be healthy. We're going to be happy. And the modern government, whatever the case we've got going right now, we have international companies that are making poisons like Roundup, that are making poisons like Agent Orange, that are making corn that rats won't eat, but they're feeding it to your children in the public schools. Am I being an extremist here? Am I overreacting? Am I seeing a conspiracy here where there ain't one? Or do I see the poisoning of the American people with the chemtrails, with fluoride in the water, and with the big pharma out there? I mean, come on, if I'd gone to Vietnam and been engaged in killing people that had never done any wrong to me, and if I didn't have post-traumatic stress syndrome, which I think could translate as a conscience, I think then I would be sick. But if you're coming back from Iraq or Afghanistan, and the doctors get a hold of you, they start feeding you these medications, Zoloft and everything else, that could make you crazy, and they're just milking the whole American medical system. My question is, could we change things back where we support the small farmers, the small families? If you took one block and put a solar panel on the roof and put a garden in the backyard, you have made that family that lives there independent and self-sufficient and healthy. That family ain't going to get as sick as the one next door eating junk food and living at McDonald's.
Well, I think the key is a biblical understanding of personal responsibility. Understanding that it's our responsibility to think about what we eat. It's our responsibility to think about what we should wear. And it's our responsibility to take care of each other within the church. And if we think about life within that context of personal responsibility, we'll find that we start making better decisions over time. We'll find that we stop relying on large conglomerates, large governments to be able to solve all our problems. And we start looking at how we can live in a way that glorifies God and that understands the creation around us. But I think that's really the key. Conspiracy or non-conspiracy, the issue is, what are you doing personally to make sure that your family's cared for, to make sure that your food is healthy, to make sure that your family is taken care of with medical care when needed, to make sure that you're providing a service and a work and a good that glorifies God as a vocation. And that is the central point, is that God created us to be salt and light and influence in society, and we need to be taking that responsibility on, making sure that we do that. And one of those ways we do that is through things like healthcare sharing ministries, where bodies of Christians band together in organizations like Samaritan Ministries to take care of one another. We do that through having local churches that start soup kitchens who try to feed the poor in the inner city. We do that through ministries like the Morning Center, which is providing maternity care for women in the inner city who may have no other place to turn except to an abortion. We do this through standing and silent witness at abortion clinics. We do this through preaching on the street corners. We do this through seeking to see God's name honored in every corner of all of creation.
It's if you took this local churches, or let's just say your organization, the people that you've already got, and using the centers that you've already got, and set up, say, college-level courses, which is what we're going to be doing for Timothy Bible College, on how to transform your home and your backyard into a garden. I mean, if we're growing gardens rather than crabgrass, we can feed the poor, we can feed ourselves, we can be more healthy, and we're not out. It's not. Nobody's trying to take anything from anybody. What I want to see is people getting more productive. You know, you got a garage, make solar panels, make wind generators. We did wonders with the windmills across this country 200 years ago, didn't we?
Well, it's a great piece of investive technology. Both, anything that will allow you to create energy out of what God is already doing with His creation is a wonderful thing. Sure, and those are great things to be passionate about. Right now, our organization is seeking to reform and redeem healthcare and to work within that. I'm glad that there are others who are out there who are thinking about how we feed the poor with things like just growing your own garden and having a surplus of food. Do that. That's a fantastic passion for Christians to have for the gospel ministry in the city. And so that's an exciting thing. We're trying to keep from mission creep on so many levels, but God has given the body of Christ, hands and feet and mouths and fingers and toes, so that we can prove what the gospel looks like, that we can display what the gospel looks like. And so whatever someone's passion is, therein one can find that person's ministry. What things that a person is excited about. God gives us a passion for where He wants us to be ministering, and I think that's a great, wonderful thing. And so I know we're getting close to the end of the hour here. I want to make sure that people know how to contact Samaritan Ministries if they're interested in more information about how you can be a part of a community of Christians who are sharing one another's healthcare burdens for only $370 a month or less. You can find us online at SamaritanMinistries.org. That's SamaritanMinistries.org. Or you can reach us by phone at 888-268-4377. That's 888-2-others. And I think that we'd love to talk to you if you're interested in joining a ministry. If this is a way that you'd want to practice your Christian convictions, we'd like to talk to you about other things that you can be passionate about. Many of our members have chosen to be a part of Samaritan Ministries because they've stepped out into personal ministry, become self-employed, looked at a way to go out and be a force for good in their community as opposed to working for a large corporation somewhere. And that's a great thing. Most of our members are self-employed. And if that's your picture, if you'd like to go out and start your own ministry, start your own organization, become self-employed, do some contract work for your neighbors, that's great. You should come call us. If you have a health insurance plan that's too expensive for you, talk to us about how you can find a way that we'll work together with other believers. We don't turn people away for health-related reasons, and our monthly share is very affordable. It's $370 a month, and you can find us online at SamaritanMinistries.org.
I've got that up. I will add to that, and I will be talking to you because I think this is all one plan, and it's all wrapped up in my friend Dr. Jake Wade of Timothy Bible College. He calls it his answer book. He calls his King James version of the Bible his answer book. And I've said it's kind of strange. For 2,000 years, we've been wondering, reading about the mark of the beast, and we've been reading Revelations and going, what could they be talking about? We couldn't be able to buy or sell without it. It's hard to believe that 2,000 years ago somebody could have seen the technology that we have today and what we're capable of today. And when you start comparing that to today's events, of what they wrote 2,000 years ago is like looking into the future.
Well, and that's, God gives future history all the time in prophecy, and that's a wonderful thing. So I appreciate you having me here today, Clay. It's been a pleasure to be on the show with you. And
we've got you down, and I've got Samaritan Ministries that are right below your name. It'll be up on my website for the next week or so. If you tell people of your ministry to come here, to come to this freeamerican.com, they can right-click on your name or click on your name and listen to the show that we did today. And I think it's an important show. I think you're doing the right thing. I'd like to have you back on, and I will be in touch with you to see how we can connect this whole self-sufficiency movement and the health movement, because it's really one and the same, I think, in my opinion. We're talking, the whole point is to stay well and to have a backup, so we're not a burden on anybody. My mother and grandmother got into this whole medical thing, and took me almost 30 years to realize that my mother and grandmother were drug addicts. They were going to a doctor to get sleeping pills or pain pills, and they were doing everything by the book, but they weren't very healthy, and they weren't very happy being on those medications. And I'd like to see that way of treatment change. That's why I appreciate so much what you're doing. James Lansberry, Samaritan Ministries.org. It'll be up on my website a number of times, number of places here. And
thanks, Clay. Have a great day.
One other thing, are there any states that you're not operating in? Now, we're going all over. Actually, this show will go all over the world. So, are there any particular
We have members in all 50 states. We have members in all 50 states. We have members in several foreign countries. If you're an overseas missionary, all we ask is that you have a stateside contact, and if you do have medical bills, that you get them translated into English. So, I need to wrap up here, Clay, but I appreciate your having me here today, and you have a blessed week.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. I appreciate you being on with me. All right, Richard. All right.
Hello.
Okay. Okay, great. I've got that. There's his link there. And what I see, I think he's got a good idea. I think $300 is a little expensive. That cover my medical bills for the last 8 years. But this concept of a ministry I approve of. I mean, this isn't churchiosity. This is taking a problem and finding a solution and actually putting it into action by working together. By working together. And it's what the Patriot movement has been missing, in my opinion. But we got a phone number there, Richard, or we can put that out. If people want to call in, I'll take calls probably on the second hour here.
Okay. Do you want me to put the number into Skype chat for you?
Yeah, sure, you can do that.
All right.
And if we get anybody that wants to be combative, lose them immediately. I don't, you want to come over and talk about answers. You want to come on the air and put some ideas in front of a few 15,000 people. Call in. You want to call up and you want to get a little nitpicky and nitshit stuff. And well, you said this last week, Clay. I don't want to hear it. I don't need negativity in my life. I don't need to screw up. We're looking for answers here. We're looking for things that work. And that's why I've had Dr. Carly on my show telling you that vaccines don't work, don't take them. And we've done these shows about the Liberty Villages here. I've told you about, and I will have more information on that coming up on the co-ops. Now, these co-ops, some of them are working right now, $50 a year in Oklahoma, and you can go down once a week, flash your little membership card, and buy food straight from the farmer. I think that's a great thing. Now, if you're on Skype and you know how to operate it, you can hit Freedom Screen on Skype. Or the call-in number is 347-688-2902. Skype Freedom Screen. And, I don't do the show to argue with people. I don't do the show. I do the show to bring you some ideas to see if we've got knowledge or information. Tammy gives you some knowledge. She'll be on my show on the 8th. And, the better you know the law, the better you know your rights, the more you can get away with, the more freedom that you've got. And that's what I'm looking for, answer and total individual freedom. Now, I've been doing this show and doing this magazine and doing this publishing and this writing for a long time, 40 years. 20 years in the Patriot movement. And I'm not impressed. We were in a better shape, better organized in the 60s when we stopped war, an illegal war in Vietnam. We didn't treat our troops right. We didn't do everything right, but we were just learning about communism and what it was and what it really was. And we were talking about freedom back then too. Yeah, we were all smoking pot. Yeah, we were all a bunch of long-haired hippies. Old grizzled bikers that, I'll follow a law if it's just. If it's unjust, I happen to be a juror. I ain't gonna find anybody guilty of a victimless crime. If you ain't hurting nobody, you got nothing to fear. You should have nothing to fear from our government. Shouldn't happen. Why should we be afraid of our government? That's not good government. Our founding fathers tried to tell us. Come on, guys. You control your government. You understand what's going on here. You make this work. Here's the tools to do it. But if you wish to remain ignorant and free, never happened. Won't happen. I've tried a lot of ways over the years to find this freedom, to secure this freedom. Got this up on my website right now, talking about buying a town appliance. We tried to do that, put together $250,000 to buy it, but the government stepped in. And this Free American magazine that I've been publishing for 20 years, you can see it now online. You can't buy it in the bookstores because they're trying to close the bookstores down. We got a whole new generation of books. I don't know how that's going to work because I ain't made any money out of it. And if you don't buy a PDF book, if you don't go to my site, freeamerican.com, shop.freeamerican.com, and order a book or order a video or order a tape, I guarantee you'll be more entertained than most writers. Because I've followed most writers, I've studied most writers, from Robert A. Heinlein to Isaac Asimov to Harlan Ellison. You know, we've got great people out there doing great work. We'll be right back. We'll take your call.
Radio at freedomslips.com. We'll be right back after this message.
What will remain a dictatorship. Oh, be quiet. Why are you guys so anti-dictators? Imagine if America was a dictatorship. You could let 1% of the people have all the nation's wealth. You could help your rich friends get richer by cutting their taxes and bailing them out when they gamble and lose. You could ignore the needs of the poor for healthcare and education. Your media would appear free, but would secretly be controlled by one person and his family. You could wiretap phones. You could torture foreign prisoners. You could have rigged elections. You could lie about why you go to war. You could fill your prisons with one particular racial group, and no one would complain. You could use the media to scare the people into supporting policies that are against their interests.
Tune in Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time for Liberation Nation with Deacon John, where America comes to hear the truth.
I know this is hard for you Americans to imagine, but please try.
What is out of work or scared of losing their job? Dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the streets and nobody anywhere seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe. Our food is unfit to eat. We know things are bad, worse than bad. I want you to get mad. I want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crying in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
Yo! Be here Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time and Near the News with Jason Brentwood. Because when it's time to crush, it's time for Jason. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here. This
this is Thomas, a.k.a. a Mad Painter. I'd like you to join me Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Open Canvas. Don't forget to bring an open mind.
Yes, folks, that's right. Bring an open mind to an open canvas. Again, that is Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern. UFOs, government corruption. This is Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Now you can share the topics that drive the discussions of your favorite talk shows with TalkStream Live's topic-driven talk radio. List and promote real-time talk radio topics, or post the topics that you want to hear. Hot topics are tweeted and retweeted, and include simple click-to-listen audio links. The future of talk radio is topic-driven talk radio. Available now at TalkStreamLive.com.
Revolution Radio.
You don't see it, do you? How close we are to absolute chaos? The sick ones are sitting on their fat masses, eating and drink themselves into a stupor, polluting the world without a second thought while it goes down the toilet. Nobody wants to do the nasty work. You know, the shit that we all just think about. Most good citizens are just along for the ride, and they bitch and moan and complain about everything when it doesn't work out. Not me. Get it done.
Revolution Radio, where we do the nasty work. www.freedomslips.com.
You're caught in a dream. The adventure begins. Put your seat backs and tray tables in the upright position as we take a trip in the very fabric of reality. Join me, Andrew Bartzis, for Adventures into Reality, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday,